Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Taylor Swift's brand newly released album, The Tortured Poets Department. It's alright, still got some good stuff here, but not outstanding, I would say. This is a track listing. It's a double album here, a bit of a surprise release there, over 30 tracks. And these are the tracks added to my playlist, 10 out of 31, so one under a third, which is a pretty bad ratio even for a double album. This album definitely does not need to be a double. Even cutting it in half would make it a lot more decent and cut out a lot of not very interesting songs in my opinion. There's definitely enough stuff here for a pretty good single album with around 10 to 15 songs. But it wouldn't be outstanding. Even the interesting songs here aren't too different from her last original album, Midnights. That being said, she still knows how to write a good hook, and generally her songs are still good. They just all kind of sound the same and aren't terribly innovative or different. The style is a combination of the pop sounds from Midnights in 1989 and the alternative kind of deep lyrical tracks that are similar to the ones from Folklore and Evermore. The more upbeat tracks I would say are better, but really they're just a little bit less boring than the slow ones. The upbeat stuff kind of still sounds different, where the slow songs all sound the same. There's basically no flow here. The songs just kind of go. There are too many which are just slow ballads to give the album any texture. It's just kind of a river. The only smart album thing here is probably the placement of the black dog at the beginning of the second side. Unfortunately, the second side is most significantly more boring and less innovative than the first side, so it's kind of a better final track than a good halfway track. The first side has an almost decent mix between high energy and low energy, while side 2 is pretty much only slower tracks compared to side 1. So yeah, overall, not a great album together, even though, probably a third of the songs are still pretty decent, pretty good. But as an album, it's not very great. There were no singles released before the album, and I'd say my favorite song here is probably fifth track, So Long London. Its new wavy synth makes the ballad a lot more interesting and bearable. It reminds me a bit of The Archer off of her 2019 album Lover, which I did like, although it wasn't my favorite there. Some of the other songs here are also pretty good. Florida is a good collaboration with Florence and the Machine. I Can Do It With a Broken Heart is also pretty good. And yeah, most of the songs I've chosen off of this one are the more interesting ones, I would say. I rank this album 7th out of her 11 original albums now. This one is still good. It's got a similar level of quality to the 3 above it, Midnights, Folklore, and Evermore. But all of those albums come together a lot better, mostly because they're not as long and stuff is cut out. Double albums are hard to get right, and I don't really think she manages it here. That being said, I still think it's better than a lot of her early work, or at least I like it better. She's definitely more experienced here than her first 4 albums, and I don't really love the style of any of those, so I put Tortured Poets above them. If this album wasn't a double, I think it could be better than Midnights, but still probably not better than 1989 or Lover. There's just not enough interesting stuff going on here for it to be really good. It's just kind of a more of the same. Additionally, though, this album does take my top spot from 2024 because this is the only album I've heard from 2024 so far. We're only 4 months in, so not that surprising. However, I do have a suspicion that another album may come along this year to take that top spot, maybe in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that and keep your eyes peeled. Next up is Duran Duran's 2007 album, Red Carpet Massacre. It's got some good sounds, some good thoughts on it, but overall most of the album is pretty bad, so stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.